Hey everyone, today I want to do more calm style of a video, more philosophical so to speak, speaking out of experience as well. And I want to touch a topic that sounds something like and goes something like the four pillars of an IT business, of an IT organization. Nowadays, I think it's not only nowadays, it's always been this way or sort of this way. So there used to be a time when tech meant something, when tech solved real problems, real issues, when it served its primary purpose of being helpful to the customer. And to my understanding, this was supposed to be the way, the original way, the old school way, how you would call this nowadays. And there were several departments in a typical IT business that actually, drove it, and without which it would most likely be dead or stop existing. Yeah, I know it depends on the domain and the actual specifics of the business itself in most cases. And those four pillars were number one, customer/technical support. I put those into one. I know these might have different meanings, like, customer is more like people oriented, while technical is more, of course, like technical issues oriented. Nowadays, I think businesses demand a lot from their customers, and they expect those to understand each and every little feature. These guys were and still are the ones who haven't been replaced by these IT agents yet, which are nonsensical BS. So it used to be customer/technical department. The next would be, of course, the QAs, such as myself. I've worked as a customer/technical support representative at one point in my career, one of the starting ones. Then I worked as, of course, the QA, which I'm doing right now, continuing to do with less and less enthusiasm by each day, But that's a whole other story for another video, I guess. So yeah, number two is QA department. We're speaking like whole QA department, manual automation and managerial stuff, but within the QA. Then, of course, we got the developers, because without these guys, nothing's gonna work, obviously. And we got DevOps, the infrastructure. Once again, I understand that magic doesn't exist, but if you are to believe it does, then the DevOps are the closest point to which you can get to see that magic, but to sort of experience it like business-wise. I don't know how that sounds. So there used to be a time when these four were the pillars. In fact, they still are. But nowadays, the business has changed, the whole industry has changed. It's almost as if it's like flipped on its head right now and inverted. So we kind of live in an inverted reality, once again, like IT-wise, professionally-wise speaking. I guess I'm not the first one to say it out loud. I'm definitely not the last one to speak about it. But what I mean here is that recently and lately, there's been lots of parasites within this industry. I wish I wouldn't offend anybody, but this is not the case. Let me bring up my experience while working with my first ever employer, which is Skyeng, and I believe they're called like something like Sky Pro Academy right now. And there's barely to none people like from the original team left out there right now. I don't know. I'm not gonna go there because we parted ways somewhere around like 5 years ago. So when I joined that team, when they were a startup in 2014, in the fall of 2014, I started doing tech support, customer support, and then switched to QA later on. So sort of, I know the drill. I know what I'm talking about. And probably the main thing that I've learned from that time period of my life is that your business can only thrive when you're like customer oriented. And it's difficult at times. I'm not gonna lie, it was difficult at times because you always had to read through and listen to each and every complaint and find like the quickest and the most efficient, effective workaround so that your customer remains happy. As generic as this shit sounds. So because this organization was an online English school at the time, whenever something happened during a lesson, there was some disruption or connection issues, or the wrong teacher who was being matched with a student, stuff happens all the time. It's kind of like boiling mix with many, many ingredients. Whenever we received a complaint regarding this process, we, even one of the co-founders, we worked closely with him at the time. Yeah, so sort of, just to mention this out, like out of sarcasm or irony, like the higher management was also a part of the team which worked with the actual complaints at the time, which kind of sounds like cosmic and dreamy nowadays, because the modern management think that they're gods, that they're above all that they just come and collect the paychecks, that money is printed out of thin air, and then you don't have to work for it. They used to work closely with us, and we used to work closely with them, and they were just like regular folk, joining the conversations, helping out with the customer satisfaction, with the communication process, helping out to find the workarounds to compensate the lessons that have been disrupted, or that the customer couldn't have had due to various reasons, which were quite a few. What I'm trying to say here is that the tech support, if you put it into a perspective of the grand scheme of the business things, represents the front line, basically. And these guys and girls are in the trenches. Well, metaphorically, of course. They have to deal with with an angry customer. Not in most cases, but sometimes there are really frustrated people. You may not even be the factor. Maybe somebody just got a divorce or broke up with somebody else, or just got fired from the job or whatever. He just wasn't in the mood, and he had this lesson and he didn't like it. But that wasn't the primary factor. And when this kind of customer is asked to leave some, satisfaction rating, most likely it's gonna be negative, I guess. But what I'm trying to say here is that the technical support might be even better than QA at some points. Sometimes not technical, which sounds funny, but in the form of understanding how the customers use the product. The first mistake that modern or new school of the IT is doing right now, and it's made this mistake like a few years ago, was implementing AI agents. I'll give you an example. Like a few months back, I took a taxi and I've overheard a driver talk to an AI agent, like the voice agent or whatever, which was sort of representative of the bank support system. And he had some issues with his money on the account, as I recall, and he just needed some information, like basic information. He had a few basic questions, I believe, which he was trying to first ask that AI, but he would always receive the same generic answers. And whenever he tried to, connect with an operator, and he tried that like 5 times at minimum, this agent would answer, give the generic knowledge-based answer or whatever, that I understand that you want to talk to a real person, but I have all the answers right here, so you may just ask me and whatever. And this guy was really frustrated. Some people take it calmly, this guy didn't. Just like me in the previous video. He flipped out, he started shouting, cursing, and all sort of things. So this is just one case of where the IT went wrong a few years back. And this is why I truly believe that this AI bubble has to burst. And many people are speaking about it. I'm happy I'm not the only one who feels it and sees this. It's important to have an alive, physical person connected to you. It's important for, from the customer's perspective. No AI agent will ever replace that. And I have never had a successful interaction with the AI agent in terms of support. It is kind of, it always generates more issues. This whole AI support agents, or whatever the fuck it's called, it's built in a way that it kind of pushes you to solve your own issues. And it's not support. So the support word was actually thrown out of the support, so that you have to dig it all, by yourself, and you don't have okay, maybe I have time because I'm in this sphere and I understand some tips and tricks. But the common folk, the common customer, does not have this type of time and doesn't want to do this. Typical customer does not want to do this. They pay for they subscribe to a service. They pay some good money for it, and you expect them to solve their own issues. I have a dissonance of my cognition. This is where the first pillar got shattered. Which is tech support and customer support. I used to lead a small department of 3 people when I worked at that very same organization, and at that time, I think I was lucky because it was just starting, and the company just began to grow from the startup to the big business. And I think I was lucky because at the time it was easier, and I could try out the employee-oriented approach, the customer-oriented plus employee-oriented. What I mean by that, I used to have reward systems. Yeah, I used to have some basic KPIs which I thought were good at the time, but my team was pretty much happy. As much as I hate this planning stuff, this managerial BS, my team was happy. And this resulted into, some great satisfaction rating. And no one left up until they hired someone from the outside. Because yeah, why do we need homegrown specialists if we can just throw them in the trash, right? We can hire somebody, some effective manager. Gosh, I hate this term. It infuriates me. Effective managers. It's the same thing when you're trying to get hired. And instead of some technical person reviewing your CV, your actual boss, or like your actual point of contact, or like a person of contact, instead of that person of contact, some hiring manager does that, who has little to no understanding about the role and the position, and is incompetent in making such decisions as, whom we're gonna hire, whom we're not gonna hire. Yeah, so let's go back to that. And yeah, so like, when the outsider was hired, I already switched to QA when this outsider came in, and I think I'm pretty damn lucky that I did, because things went south from the beginning. Yeah, the company continued to grow, which is like a good thing, I guess, but the reward system was gone, the KPIs were reinvented, I guess, whatever the fuck that means. And people started to burn out. Because instead of rewards, she implemented fines. What an effective managerial way. That's why I think of the managers as parasites, and that's why I hate them. Like, not everybody, because I don't know everybody, but I have prejudice towards them. Because throughout the years, there's probably like just a couple, of decent managers which do their actual job that I've encountered in the past, of course. So this pillar was shattered and destroyed. Let's move on to the next pillar. Next pillar, as I mentioned at the start of this video, is QA. Both manual, automation, leads and whatever. First things first, I think that QAs must be hired by QAs and interviewed by QAs. Because my most successful and pleasant interviews have been conducted by the people that work as QAs themselves, and it doesn't matter whether they are just seniors or if they are leads or QA management. The thing is, the person that has been through all of that sort of professional kitchen, how we call that, only these types of people know the real deal and know what it takes to be like this sort of specialist and know what it means. And they pretty much understand and have this sort of image of who they need in their team and who would be the most valuable addition to it. Not some outside manager, not some effective Oxford graduate or whatever the fuck. The real one who was in the trenches knows how to make it better for the newcomers. And at the same time knows how these newcomers can be the best addition to the team, to make it more wholesome sort of. Then there's this connection with technical or customer support and QAs. Because those guys from the tech support, as I mentioned, they're on the battlefield of their own. They collect those issues, they push it to QAs, sometimes straight to devs, but if you have your processes established, this is how it usually goes. So they push some bugs or potential issues for QAs to reproduce. This sort of QAs do the stuff, we collect, we localize, we collect data, we localize the issues, we try to find the root causes if we can, and we push it further to the devs. At least that's how it should be. So this is how the QA pillar got shattered, because of the death of technical support, because of the outsiders during hiring. I mean outsiders professionally. This is not some outsourced HR department or some outsourced manager or another sort of bad practice when when the developer hires a QA. We're not the same and we never will be. Yeah, and I'm not speaking about one is better than the other. We're just different. Our competencies are different. We think differently. Developers are more problem-solving oriented. They have this mindset and purely technical, while QAs are sort of a link between that technical implementation and the main question that any QA should ask each and every working day is how the hell is this supposed to work? Being a QA means you're the customer. You are the customer, the first internal customer in your organization. Sometimes it's really hard to explain this to the business representatives, which shouldn't be the case. Because in my understanding, when you're running a business, you must at least understand why and whom are you doing this for. And if you don't, it means that you have chosen the wrong niche. Simple as that. If it doesn't resonate with you, sort of. Because if you're running some business, this means, at least to me, that At one time in your life, or some point in your life, you used to be a very same customer who's had some unfortunate interactions in this very same sphere, had some bad experience, had like probably the worst experience in your life, service-wise, tech-wise, whatever. And then as as you moved on with your life, at some point you came to an understanding that you want to give something like that very same service, but to do it better. This makes it so wholesome. And this is why I at least I try to understand, like in my imagination, the best business owner is the owner who once was a customer in this very same sphere or sector, or you name it. This is how probably one influences the other. So when the tech support died, the QAs were damaged as well as a result of it. Where do we go from here? We have developers and DevOps remaining. Because I'm not a developer, I never were, and at this point in my life I never will. Neither am I a DevOps, but I have respect, professional respect for these specialists. They are the masterminds. They provide either the technical implementation or the infrastructure. And that's like enough said. As an automation QA, I, work closely with DevOps mostly in terms of CI processes, but that's a whole other story. But I also think that, devs might be damaged indirectly. Once again, due to the death of technical support and due to the destruction of this feedback loop or feedback chain, which starts from the customer, goes to the tech support, then goes to the QA, and then goes to the devs. And when you have only AI agents on the front lines, these are not the front lines anymore. AI agent is like a middle finger to the actual customer who pays you money, which is insane to me. We couldn't even think of that like some years ago. And you know what is also insane to me, or at least like professionally inappropriate, is the amount of parasites that now exist in lots of businesses. These posts on LinkedIn that I see daily. QA is not about this, it's about that, it's about the mindset, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it is. Don't overcomplicate. People who overcomplicate that, people who are incompetent in their own spheres, in their own like professional fields, sub-fields, whatever, managers. The disease of modern organization, IT specifically, is a manager, because I don't know what that word means. I never understood that, and I never will. Maybe you know, so drop that in the comments, I don't know. But my recent interactions with those parasites just show that they're real parasites. They try to mask the real issues by, showing the pretty little visuals with the pretty little numbers, or the big numbers, I don't know, while always overlooking what is actually happening in the organization. And when people start to leave, when people start to break down and burn out, they make their pathetic little excuses. Oh, it wasn't me. They blame it on the specialists. They blame this on the specialists themselves, and they sort of stay on the sidelines. So I guess we are living in the end times of the IT sphere, or the dark ages. All I want to say with this video is that there will never be the shiny sunny times when the business used to consist only of mostly of the enthusiastic guys and girls who were united by the idea of providing some better service and doing everything for it. And that's why they got rewarded, because they put their energy, they put their souls into this process. It's unlike anything that we have now. And there will never be another Steve Jobs, there will never be another, technical inventor, because I think the AI is probably like the last invention of humanity. We used to have crypto bubbles, we used to have the dot-com bubbles, or the crisis. We're about to have the AI bubble, or the AI bubble outburst crisis, or whatever the hell you want to call that. And AI so far, it's really has done more harm than good. It hasn't improved your work speed, it hasn't improved your decision making, it hasn't influenced like anything, at least in my experience. I don't want to end this on a bad note, so the only good thing that it has ever produced is being able to solve real atomic tasks. When you kind of describe it, you do a sequential description, precise description. It's WYSIWYG. It's what you see is what you get with AI, right? So yeah, the modern IT is dead. So let's bury it, cry for a few minutes, and then try and forget this nightmare. Because it's never gonna change unless, this industry gets rid of the parasites. And parasites are mostly effective managers, some hiring managers, and the likes. These ones are the real virus of the modern organization. Because, it's all fun and games, it's all coffee and cookies, it's all those perks and whatnot, it's all those feedbacks. internal feedbacks and surveys. It's all fun and games unless you experience the real crisis in the domain you're working in, or like with the tech specialists that you're working with. As it turned out, AI is not the perfect solution, and neither is incompetent management. So yeah, this is how I want to end it. I just want to wish you guys the best in any endeavor you're experiencing right now, going through, in terms of finding the best organization where you will feel, where you will have this creative freedom, where it's gonna at least have that old school feeling that you're influencing things, even if you're not. And I also want to wish everybody who watches this that you don't have to have those interactions, those meaningless interactions, those meaningless meetups, those meaningless dailies, those meaningless plannings, those meaningless methodologies just for the sake of it, just because it's mainstream. I wish you don't have it. I wish you have your creative freedom. I wish that every time you log in to workspace, you feel a little bit of relief and a little bit of hope that this particular business that I'm working with is going somewhere. You know, at least I'm a little bit happy being a part of it. You know, we can never bring back those old times, you know. I'm starting to sound like a grumpy old man, which I'm not. But it's the truth. What we can actually do is not succumb to BS, is not succumb to this managerial parasitic attitude, and have a little bit of creative freedom, because that's what it's all about. Create, maintain, support, seeing the results of your craft, whether it's quality, whether it's technical implementation, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's a satisfied customer. If tech support still exists, I don't know. As far as I've heard, it's only AIs now everywhere, which kind of sucks. Try and make the best out of what you have. Who knows? Maybe it's gonna get better in the future. I wouldn't think that it would collapse so quickly. You know, I would give it like 5 more years or so. I wouldn't think that it would happen instantly. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope I wasn't too boring. I hope I wasn't like mumbling all the way around here, like a grumpy old man. Yeah, cheers. Have a good one. Bye.